So in this video, I wanted to explain why I prefer buying physical games as opposed to digital games in 2024. So I think it all kind of starts off, growing up, of course, not having a credit card or a debit card of my own. So really the only way I could buy games was in a store physically with the cash that I had earned, right? So, of course, going on from that now that I'm an adult and have access to both a debit and credit card, why do I still prefer buying physical games? Not only physical games, but really physical media in general. I still like buying CDs, I buy vinyl records, and I buy physical movies. So overall, it seems like the world as a whole is moving toward a more digital environment, right? Where you have stuff like subscription services like Netflix and Hulu, which have kind of now been implemented into the gaming scene with stuff like Game Pass and PlayStation Premium. Now, I'm not saying any of these are bad, and for what they are, they can be a really great deal. And I have used Game Pass personally in the past, and I've actually been using it more recently to play Zombies on Black Ops 6. As opposed to buying that game. So yeah, they can be good, and I'm not saying there's one best way to do this. I'm just saying kind of what I prefer. So why do I prefer physical media? Now, one point that a lot of people have made in videos that I've seen as to why they like physical games more than digital is because you actually own the game. Whereas digitally, it could for some reason potentially be taken away from you, whereas a physical copy, it would have to break or someone would have to steal it. So, well, yeah, that is kind of true. The likelihood of you losing your digital games library is very slim unless you're not being careful, but even then it's pretty slim. So I don't think that's the primary reason why. Actually, I know that's not the number one reason why I prefer buying physical games myself. So some of the reasons include playing retro consoles, of course. On those, you either have to mod the console to take an SD card, which I don't like modding consoles. There's really only been one exception for me, and that was the Game Boy Advance, the original model, upgrading that with a backlit screen, and which I've really enjoyed, but it doesn't have any added features like all the games digitally installed onto that or anything. So it's still a Game Boy Advance just with an upgraded screen. So yeah, of course, I like playing retro games the way they were meant to be played on original hardware, original cartridges, and whatnot. So of course, for me in that area, of course, I have to use, original hardware and physical games. Whereas they are available digitally through emulation, whether or not that's official or not. There's options for both. Stuff like I guess Nintendo Switch Online is an example of official emulation where some of those retro games are available. And another reason why I prefer buying physical games is to have something like this, to have them displayed on a shelf. So, I don't know. I just have something to look at, I guess. I like looking at the spines of games. I like being able to see what games I want to play next. And as well as when people come over, and that way they can see, I guess, what multiplayer games I have and see what game they may be interested in playing. Where when I have as much consoles as I do, it would be kind of tough to go and show everyone my library digitally for each and every single one of my consoles just to show them what games I have. So this is more accessible to me for playing multiplayer games and seeing kind of what other people would be interested in playing. That way, they can just look at a shelf and say, I want to play this game. Another reason that I prefer physical games is just the experience of playing a physical game. You grab one off the shelf, you know exactly what you're playing. Whereas when you hop on your console and you're going to play something digitally, you may play it digitally for a couple minutes and kind of lose interest or just want to hop to something else. Something will distract you potentially, and you'll want to jump to something different. So for me, yeah, having games physically helps me stay more focused on one particular game that I want to play. Because usually, not so much lately, I've been jumping between a couple different games, but I want to get more on track and play just one game at a time. And I guess that's another reason why I like retro consoles, is because you know exactly what you're playing, because you have that cartridge, you plug it in, and there's not any other distractions. It's right to the point. That's the game you're playing. So, of course, playing a game physically on a modern console, you're still going to have, at least in my case, some games digitally as well, have access to those, and you may get distracted with them. But for me personally, I like the experience of having a physical disc, popping it out of the case and I guess inserting it into the console and waiting for it to boot up to play. So it may not be the most practical solution to gaming, right? I think it would be way more simple to have all your games digitally. That way you can just turn on the console and they're all ready to go. You can select which one you want to play. But for me, I really don't care about, I guess, the convenience more so is kind of what I was trying to get at there. But yeah, for me, I prefer playing games physically. I prefer collecting games physically. I like shopping in stores still. I like going to retro stores and seeing what they have. And of course, getting those games is going to be digitally, and that's not digitally, it's going to be physically. So that's just what I like to collect for. And that way, I don't know, that way I can see what I have, people can see what I have, and just really makes it more simple for me to kind of plan ahead and try and choose what game I'm going to start after the one I'm currently playing through, which, I might change my mind, something may catch my eye and whatnot. So I like having a shelf to display the games that I have, just because, these are all games for the most part that I've really curated into my collection. These are all ones that I either had as a kid, so they're nostalgic to me in that way, or they're ones that I want to play nowadays. So yeah, I prefer physical games for that sense. Let me know down in the comments, do you prefer physical media, or are you more of a digital collector? Again, I really don't think there's one better way than the other. It really just comes down to personal preference. I'm not trying to say you're wrong if you collect digital games. I'm just saying that I prefer physical myself. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.